Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who's been having a hell of a week. It's been a pretty weird week for me. You see, I normally put out 3 videos, one during the weekend, Tuesday, Thursday, everything goes along, everything's quite nice. This has been my spring break, which means I have a lot more time to think because I'm not grading and teaching and all that. And on top of that, I had my interviews with Anthony Fantano, right? So I had those on Monday night on a stream and I was waiting for him to release them. So I did a whole bunch of videos over the weekend so that when my new fans arrived, I had access to over 1 million people. That's how many subscribers he has on his second channel, right? So, I try to play it cool, but that's like a huge deal, right? So I had my video that I made about hip hop, and I had that on my landing page so that when people arrived, they'd get to see something about me, my sort of intellectual side, my sort of comprehensive side, all that positivity, all that stuff which you're hopefully here for. But then I was stuck because I was still making videos, but I didn't want to release them. So yesterday, I made 3 videos for this channel, and none of them did I release. One of them is about a Russian hip-hop artist, which is sort of in conversation with the Ukrainian, but then I got way too political about the nature of having to sympathize for people who we perceive of as aggressors when we're just talking about the soldiers and not the generals. So that's going to be on my secondary channel, Professor Sky, from the desk of Professor Sky. The other video was a video from one of my Patreons who commissioned me to do a review of his rap album, and that's going to be just for my Patreons. The third was I finished up the next chapter of my Blasevich series, but that's going to be released next week. So here I am. I've had 1 video for you all week, yet I've made 3 videos in addition to the 3 I've already made. All along that, I've had this struggle where I want to review Lil Durk. I want to review Shenseea, but I just don't like their albums enough. Like there's parts that I really enjoy, and then there's parts that I really don't. And so I was really struggling because I'm an always positive review show. I'm not here to dump on anybody. I'm not here to say anything's bad. I don't believe in doing that. So what I want to do is I want to take you on a little journey. I'm going to compare the 2 albums. I'm going to highlight the good parts. And I'm going to sort of tell you why these albums in particular mean so much to me. Eventually, Anthony, as I now call him, eventually Fantano is going to be releasing the other part of the interview where I talk to him about mid-20s music death, about that time in my life after turning 22, 23, 24, where I just sort of gave up on new music. What I explained to him was, in that time, there was a couple of exceptions. The main exception was Kanye. Whatever Kanye West did, I paid attention to. But not only that, whatever Kanye was showing me, I was letting him be my big brother. I was letting, even though we're the same age, actually he's older by a couple months, even though I would allow him to be my arbiter of who was cool and what was there. I bought a Bon Iver CD because of Bon Iver appearing on my Dark Twisted Fantasy. And most of all, I was fascinated by Nicki Minaj, her verse on Monster, to the point where the only album, I think the new album that I bought that year was Nicki Minaj's Pink Friday. So this is a very cute artifact because do you know what this is? This is a printout from iTunes. I bought the album on iTunes and I burned it onto a CD. Okay? That's how cute I was. Little late 30s Professor Sky sitting there trying to stay current on new music. Chance the Rapper, a couple years later, I got fascinated with his music because of how good he was on Ultralight Beam. I went to go see Kanye perform in Toronto in the Yeezus tour, and I saw that some weirdo who I'd never heard of was opening up for him, so I started downloading his music as well. His name is Kendrick Lamar. So thanks to Kanye, even though I was paying no attention to new music, I managed to actually get a fair amount of good things out of new music just by paying attention to what he was showing me. Fortunately, I'd already started the channel and I didn't get into a Kenny G phase. But the thing is, and what I learned with this, is that Kanye always gets the best from whoever it is who features on his albums. He gets the absolute best from them. And it's not to say that they're not good otherwise, but he always gets the best. You cannot compare Nicki Minaj's output to Monster because nothing that she did will ever match Monster. I don't think you can compare Chance the Rapper's output to what he did on Ultralight Beam. I know, a lot of fans of acid rap, feel free to be mad at me in the comments. Don't forget, I still defend his last album. I still think The Big Day is a good album. So, like, this is a good case example, because this album has some great things on it. But there's some things on here I really didn't like. And this is the thing. Nicki Minaj, like Lil Durk, like Shenseea, has sort of two modes. She has her sort of one mode, which was the awesome rapper, killer rapper, amazing bars and beats and flow. And then she's sort of a pop star who likes to sing and be a Barbie doll and talk about being a pop star. So I couldn't really reconcile those. So when I'd listen to this, I would just skip ahead and listen to the same four songs every single album. So when I'm going to be reviewing Shenseea and Lil Durk, I'm going to do them the service of not paying attention to the songs I don't like. I'm going to focus on 4 songs of each, just following along with the Nicki Minaj model. I listened to each album quite a bit, and neither album is bad, right? Like they're both good. But I'll explain sort of why am I not giving each album its own share, and what is it that I like. So let's start with Lil Durk. Why not review the whole album for Lil Durk? Too many songs in the same register, and I have a hard time with his soft mode. As you'll see, his soft mode is amazing and it's great, but there's just a little too much of it. And most of all, there's a song at the end which is a duet with a country singer, which is I'm not going to be negative. I'm not going to say that it's pandering garbage, one of the worst songs I've ever heard, and you could shoot it into space as an example of everything that's wrong with both country music, pop music, and hip-hop music all at once. I wouldn't say that on this channel. This is a positive music channel. But why should I review this? Because, man, does he have emotional... The two sides of Lil Durk are actually very interesting, because the soft side is vulnerable and comes from a place of honesty, which is amazing. It's very, very admirable. And then the other side is this hard, gang-banging, I'm going to murder you and talk about it side, which is still very entertaining with the drill beats and gives me a better sense of what Chicago drill is, which I didn't really understand. So let's kind of mix it up, right? Because the thing is, let's go to what is it that I loved about Lil Durk on Donda. He's on the song Jonah, a super underrated song. I didn't like the song at first, but my wife convinced me that it was good. You'll hear a lot of that. As a reminder, my wife was born in Yugoslavia. She never listened to hip-hop ever until she met me. She didn't understand it. She didn't hate it, but she didn't understand it at all because English is not her first language and all the slang and all the pronunciation. So all the hip-hop that she's ever been exposed to is through me. And so it's fascinating when she likes things that I don't, because it's like, huh, that's interesting. So the verse on Jonah, I now understand it through listening to this album. Kanye and Jay, still brothers, they both billionaires. A great opening. Just one of the great openings. I love that opening because he's talking about Kanye and Jay-Z, and it's clear he has this sort of reverence for his fathers. And we ain't see it, I lost my brother when we was millionaires. His brother was killed just last summer outside of a strip club. I wasn't scared to die, but him, that was my biggest fear. I got your son and your daughter, like you still here. See, on this album, there's a song where his daughter actually sings. His niece sings about his dead brother. God damn, this is meaningful. This is powerful stuff about trauma. Fundamentally about American trauma. Fundamentally about African American trauma. Fundamentally about African American trauma in the inner city, in a system that is corrupted and intentionally created to emphasize a class divide and have a prison to pipeline that is well in place, from which Lil Durk has suffered from his entire life. Know how it feel to lose a brother. We got a bond still. 26 years, Pops got out to see his son killed. So now he's talking about Jay-Z and Kanye as brothers, and they're billionaires, and then he's talking about losing his brother? I'm sure Watching the Throne did a whole thing about this song. I've got real goosebumps. I don't always get goosebumps, but I got real goosebumps right now, just thinking about this verse. His father was in jail for 26 years and comes out just to see his son get killed. So the power of that. Now listen, I'm such a dummy that when I listened to this album, when I listened to Donda the first 10 times, I didn't know the difference between Lil Durk and Lil Baby. I know the difference between Da Baby and Lil Durk. I couldn't tell. The second I heard anything that I thought was mumbling, that I thought was auto-tune, I couldn't distinguish itself. That's not because hip-hop is bad now. That's because I'm old and my ears can't hear it. It's like my grandfather not being able to tell the difference between Paul McCartney and Robert Plant. Okay? Like, I don't know, just a bunch of dudes screaming, right? I don't know, just a bunch of dudes mumbling. So, let's get into the 4 songs from this album that I really liked. The first track off of 7220 is Started From. A very gentle beat, way too gentle. Not the kind of rap beat that I like. Piano and kind of a whispering guitar, kind of a drill beat. But then we just have this lyrical strength where he talks about growing up with his grandmother. He's telling you his story. Father in jail, he's being raised by his grandmother. That's why it's called 7220. It's his grandmother's address. Little details about his life of poverty. Water bill was high. I went next door to fill the jug. Laundromat was packed. I had to grab the soap and fill a tub. 3-bedroom. There was 8 people who lived with us. I hated my school, but my granny made me. This constant push from his grandmother to him. It's meaningful. It's honest. It's true. It's sad. It's delivered super well. Daddy was doing life. I couldn't sit outside and wait for him. School sports I couldn't really attend because I couldn't pay for him. Just an amazingly strong depiction of poverty and hopelessness, and the hopelessness that comes from poverty in this album. And again, there's a similar song later, Love Dior Banks, where he has his niece singing. It's in the same register. Very emotional, very meaningful. We get to the second song I'm going to feature, Aha, which is just a straight up, apparently, according to Genius, I didn't know, I read this after I heard the song like 5 times. It's all a diss song on NBA Youngboy because they don't like each other. I don't know. I don't know who NBA Youngboy is. I listened to his album. I thought it was okay. Not good enough to do a review. Maybe I should listen to it again. Maybe there's more there. But, it's just this just a sort of a Trap Lore Ross level beef song about ops and murdering and laughing and talking about people whose wives are being slept with and girlfriends are on OnlyFans and all that stuff. I do like how it begins with saying this is not real. He says that it's fake. So he's saying that it's fake so that the police can't use it in court. That's what he says. So we have a sort of a Princess Bride thing of someone saying something is fake so that you know that it's real. It's an interesting kind of play. Like, the more he insists that it's fake, the more you believe that it's real, because if it was fake, then he could just say it was real. If I came out with a song talking about all of the people who I killed in Southside Chicago, I probably would not be brought up on charges, because it's pretty clear that's not real. Whereas, okay, very dark and menacing, nice piano effects in the background, some choral sounds. He seems to be naming people and making very specific references. And he talks a lot. What I love about this is the way he delivers this chorus. He has a sort of breathlessness to it, a really cool cadence. Don't respond to Ish with Vaughn. He keeps talking about Vaughn, King Vaughn, his friend and collaborator, I don't know, who was murdered. There's a great video by FD Signifier. I'll put it in the description about the death of King Vaughn and sort of why it's important and what it shows about the modern state of hip-hop. But one of the notes that I made on here is, I guess I like drill, because I like this song, and apparently this is drill. The next song I'm going to highlight is called Shootout in My Crib, that auto-tune effect that I just learned to love by listening to this album. Again, I couldn't distinguish between Playboi Carti and Future. That's how much my ear has to be trained. And it's because of Kanye I'm training my ear, because he keeps working with these people who make this music that I've been consciously ignoring, and he just won't let me do it because he takes it seriously, so I take it seriously. And then guess who's right? He's right, and then I'm right, because as my wife will say, you're never wrong if you allow yourself to change your opinion, And speaking of my wife, I came to love this song because I was feeling I have a slow leak in one of my tires, and I would rather fill it every week than buy a new tire. I get weird and cheap sometimes. Do you? Tell me in the comments. And so I was filling it up, and I didn't realize that I accidentally left the song playing in the car, and I figured that my wife would just turn off the the record, turn off the stereo so she didn't have to listen to it. But then I got back in the car and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I would have turned this off. She's like, that's okay. I really like this. And this was the song. And that helped me to really understand why I like the song as well. It's a darker side. It's that more sort of aggressive side mixed with some of that auto-tune. Some truly gross details in here. There's a lot of weird body stuff on both of these albums. Not gonna cap. No cap. Gonna smell like Perks and lean when I fart. What does Percocet smell like in a fart? That is a question I never wanted to think about. What does lean smell like in a fart? I can imagine that because I've smelled cough syrup and Sprite before. Not at the same time, but still. It's gross. That is gross. The final song I'll highlight is Pissed Me Off, which apparently this is the Chicago drill style of sort of fast drums and kind of slow strings. It works really well. This just helped me to feel like I understand better this general style that Lil Durk embodies. So I like this album a good deal. I'm happy that it exists. I'm being positive. I'm definitely not going to talk about that last country song. I also like how they say they act like they're from the Rack now, referring to Chicago, because Chicago is sometimes called Chirac. So it's like Iraq, act like they're from the Rack. Okay. Moving on to the next artist, Shenseea. Why not review Shenseea? Oh man, she has Nicki-itis all over this album. Like, come on, just be a dance hall badass, sex pot, lyrical, talented vocalist. Like, just be that. Don't also try to be. I talk about this a lot now, but when I was in New York last month, whenever I drive to New York, I listen to Hot 97 because that's really where the culture is. At least the pop culture is. Oh my God, I'm going to get people mad at me. I'm not saying that is where hip-hop culture is. But that is where the most popular... That is the best way to determine the direction in which the R&B and hip-hop formatting throughout the country is going to go. Okay? So it's very important. Whenever you're in New York, always listen to Hot 97. It's very instructive. Like, there was one time when I went there and all they played was Quiet Storm by Mobb Deep. Like, they played that song 3 times an hour. That was a good time to be in New York. What's been happening the last time I went there is like every song was so soft, like there was no rapping anywhere, and there wasn't even like any hooks. There was just this soft pop mush. I just wanted something, and too much of the Shenseea album is like that. It's like I just want something more. Now, why should I review it? She's amazing. Her voice is great. Her phrasing is memorable. Even just the way she says her name, Shenseea, is a great thing. And her modern, her take on dance hall is interesting to me. I'm fascinated by reggae. If you saw my stream with Foreign Men in a Foreign Land, I talk about my long history with reggae, and reggae and jazz and classical are 3 forms of music where I'm always just like, I don't know what's happening. I like this. Like that's my general take. I don't know what's happening. I like this. So it's interesting hearing this real mixture of sort of dance hall and pop and rap and some of that pop being non-dance hall rhythms in dance hall music. It's all quite interesting. My favorite song on the album is the first single. Actually, no, it's not my favorite song on the album, but it's a song that I love. With Megan Thee Stallion, produced by Murda Beats, Lick. I would point up there for you to find the video, but the video is very shocking, and you might be at work. It's not quite safe for work without having any nudity. This is a nice reminder that female sexual pleasure is still subversive. I almost said submersive, which given the amount of sort of like scuba analogies that go on in these songs, it might work. Female pleasure is subversive. It still is. It's still subversive to talk about women getting sexual pleasure. It just is. And this song is great because it is exclusively about oral sex on a woman, so it does not imply any pleasure for the man. I mean, the man's pleasure is not a part of the equation. Let's put it that way, right? So that's great. We need more songs like this. These songs are important. WAP was important. It wasn't just gross. It wasn't just something to piss off Tucker Carlson. It was an important song that does good things for humanity. With the exception of that stuff about money. I don't know why these songs always have to bring up money. Leave money out of it. Just have it be about sex. Anyways, so this song is great. It's sexy. It's goofy. I really like how the main way she talks about it in the chorus is putting your back into it, telling the man to put his back into it, which is a fascinating idea because that's not what you associate with oral sex. I think she's in conversation with Ice Cube and you can do it, put your back into it, the famous sex song from the 90s. And so I don't know, I love this idea that she's sort of talking about this, but in a way where there's a part of it where she's being instructive. Because it's true, men are not encouraged to know about this in general. Men are not expected to know about this or to do this. They're just not. And they should be. That should be a part of the human experience. And this song is important in doing that. Now her verse is just amazing. I mean, really, if you just listen to her and just focus on just what her voice is doing, she's really impressive. Great tone control, great rhythm control. Like, I have all the lyrics here. I'm not going to read them all. I was thinking about reading them all, but my kids' friends watch this channel sometimes, so I don't want them to have to watch me read that. Okay? But I will say, what I like here is I'm a queen. Just listen to the way that she extends that out into syllables to match so that it then goes on and goes up nicely with knees. Just pay attention. Listen to her voice and imagine that each syllable is a drum line, is like a snare hit. And you'll hear that she's doing all sorts of fascinating things. Megan Thee Stallion's okay. She's fine. She says she's rude, and that's a good example. Suck it like a crab leg is one thing that she says. That's right up there with you can smell lean in my farts with lines which are just unnecessarily gross. Mercifully, it goes back to Shenseea, a great bridge from Shenseea. This time, like her flow is much more just sort of straight attacking dancehall style in the higher register, and then it ends simply with bass. But actually, my favorite song on the album is the next song, Bouncy, a great piano-led verse. Like the voice matches beautifully this great melody. Just a sparse drum machine that goes along with this gorgeous melody. And again, the way that she sings, listen to the chorus, how she's able to do so much in each verse, how her voice is so dynamic. Another sex song, but not really dirty, just graphic. And I also like whenever I can't understand her. I think that's a good sign. When I can't understand her, that sort of means that like she's not trying to appeal to me. Like, what I prefer is that dancehall music is made exclusively for people who can understand Jamaican words, Jamaican patois, Jamaican delivery, dancehall delivery completely, and whatever I get is fine. The same way with rap. Like, I don't want them thinking about me, and too much of this album, I feel like they're thinking about me or thinking about whoever's on Hot 97. But and I'm going to pronounce this, and Foreign Man on the stream was sort of warning me not to do. Like, I don't do, like, fake Jamaican accents, but just even when I use the words, sometimes they're perceived of as being funny. But I'm just saying it because I don't understand how all these words go together, and especially when I hear them. And what I'm interested in is the way these words become rhythmic notes, like those snare hits I'm talking about. I'ma move my body till you bend up, mash up, I'll hot work, wine, pawn it, till your head busts. Good luck to anybody born in Yugoslavia understanding those lyrics. Then we have a verse by Offset, who's fine. Offset and Megan Thee Stallion are fine. I understand why she has to do this. This is part of the album. This is why it has Pink Friday-itis. It's too much. Just be dance hall. But then she comes back and it's great. Next song, Henkel Glue, has Beanie Man. I love Beanie Man. I don't own any Beanie Man albums. Can you please tell me what Beanie Man album to get? Just tell me in the comments. He's got this great old voice and this laugh. And it's funny because, he was the guy who said, who on Yeezus sang the whole thing, memories don't think like people do. And then what I love about Shenseea was on Donda, She was on the OK OK Part 2, the far superior version. Shensea's verse on OK OK Part 2 is my monster verse from Nicki Minaj. Like, her verse is so good. I like it more than I like 5 Foreign's verse on Off the Grid. That's how much I like Shenseea on that. So it's cool because she actually kind of quotes Beanie Man from Yeezus on that version. So there's this kind of weird conversation between older Kanye and newer Kanye, and older Kanye dancehall person and newer Kanye dancehall person, because Kanye is constantly throwing in dancehall, just slipping it in there to the point we don't even really notice. And then you go, was that Buju Banton? I didn't mean to do that so funny. More of kind of a Latin beat here, but I just love Beanie Man. I just love his voice and his laugh and his sound. There's a nice back and forth. The rest of the album feels way too much like they just got someone, paid him for bars, and then he did his bars and then left. Like, that's the sense I got from Offset. What's the song about? Sex. Okay. And then he just takes his money, does his bars. Here they go back and forth. Great pop production, cool lilting melody. I'm not sure what she's singing about, which I like. There's these great moments where these claps. I love songs that have unpredictable claps that you have to listen to multiple times, because then I imagine myself I imagine myself at like a wedding or in a dancing situation. I'm a great dancer, but not in front of other people. Not in front of strangers. I'm a great dancer in front of people that I love, right? So you'll probably never see me dance. But when I'm not in a situation where I feel comfortable dancing, anything that has a clap makes me happy, because I'll be able to do that part along with everybody else. Shen X Anthem, another great song, just more of her gentle side. Like, I love the way she pronounces words. There's shades of what I don't like, but I wanted to include this as a song that's in a kind of softer side, things that I don't particularly like that much, but are still good. Me will take man, me not take bad treatment, take me for granted, take a leave then, good quality, like a me, Louis V, treat me then tempting like a fruit of Eden. So what I like about this is the song's about her ex, and then the verse on OK OK is about her ex. Broke up with your ex, now you're single. I broke up with my ex and now me a widow, right? That's the line. Damn it. I'm not trying to impersonate. Am I being problematic? There's a question for you. Is it problematic? Because it's not. Is it? Was that problem? The way that I sang, was it problematic? And I'm not being facetious here. Like, if the answer is yes, I really do apologize. Or am I just doing my best to impersonate a song, which I would do about anything? You know, if we go back to Robert Plant, I'm not being problematic when I go, we come from the land of blessings now, right? Like, I'm not being problematic there. But I might be problematic if I say, broke up with me ex, now me a widow. Let's have a conversation in the comments. So there you go. There's my review of Lil Durk and Shenseea. If this is your first video of mine watching after seeing Fantano, this is pretty much what I do, but not quite. But it's okay. I'm going to be reviewing Charlie XCX like soon. I can't wait to review that album. That'll be a straightforward review. Hey, my auditors out there, fans of Le Prof, everything's going to be normal next week. Okay. Until next time, there's the camera.